of us as women really love gifts. We like to give gifts and we like to receive them. I even put some out here just to show how much I like them. It's kind of fun to think about what's inside them, and they just what we want. Sometimes we have wish lists, but I've found that God is the best gift giver. In fact, James 1:17 says that every good and perfect gift comes from above. So if we're going to be like God, we're going to be good gift givers and gift receivers from our God. But you know, God gives gifts in all kinds of packages. Some of them are small, some of them are big. Sometimes they're things that we love. Some of His gifts we don't even acknowledge that He's given us. And then other gifts are things that sometimes we might want to give them back or not keep them. So I thought I'd like to share just some of the gifts that God has given me. And all of us, I hope, will think about this, because God is such a good God, such a good giver. But probably one of the very best gifts I've ever been given is Baird. And he was on my wish list. I wanted a great husband, and in fact I've said that I waited enough to have a wish list and that I checked off all these things when I met Baird, that he fit all of those. So God gave me really the desires of my heart with him, and we started our life together, and then soon we're given some small little gifts, and the first one was a little baby boy that was so special to us. And he was a gift from God, but we only got to keep him 3 days, and we had to let him go. Needless to say, that was hard, and then God blessed us with our Stacy gift, a little girl after that. And then a couple of years after that, we were surprised and amazed that we were given a double gift, twin girls. But then we were heartbroken when we only got to keep them 24 hours. So sometimes giving up a gift is hard. But then soon, in a couple of years, we were given another little girl to keep, Christy. And then God topped off our family with our little one, Carrie, and finished off our family. And our families are such big gifts for us, and we need to see them as gifts from God, and the things that will help us to learn to be what God wants us to be in His family by our own families. We've lived long enough that then we were given some more gifts. And of course, I'm not going to give all the gifts that we've given, but the special ones, like our 3 sons-in-law or sons-in-love, were special gifts. And then along came some extra special gifts with our 9 grandchildren. What a joy those gifts are, and how much fun we've had in our family with those gifts from God. Now, isn't it interesting that we can talk about the happy gifts, the joyful gifts, the ones we like, the ones that just fill out our wish list completely. But sometimes God's gifts are ones that we really didn't think about, that we really didn't ask for, and that maybe we don't want. And I've had some of those. But I had one that, as I thought about it, it really was an answer to my prayers. And it was the gift of cancer. And yet, I didn't realize how God was going to answer my prayers. Sometimes I have a prayer theme for the year. And in 2012, I chose the acronym HIS, H-I-S, for my prayer acronym. And the H stood for humility, and the I stood for intimacy with God, and the S stood for being a seeker of God, a seeker of truth, a seeker of the lost. As I experienced my cancer, I realized that all of those were answered with the gift of cancer. The humility. I was weak. I lost my hair. I had to have people come and clean my house. There was so much I couldn't do. I was out of control. Intimacy with God. Well, I've never been much closer to God and needed Him more, been more desperate for God, and spent time in His Word in what I call my lifelines that I held on to, scriptures that kept my thinking from going crazy in fear and worry like it can do by itself, and kept me in track with God's thinking, where I didn't have to be afraid. I didn't have to be worried because God was with me. But then the S, a seeker, I certainly was seeking God more, wanted the truth about whatever my health issues were. But then I had more opportunities to share my faith with more people and to tell what God was doing and is doing in my life during that time than most of my life. It was amazing to have the opportunities to be a seeker of the lost. Seeing cancer as a gift was not original with me. In fact, I really appreciate a brother, Sergio Rivas, that just went to heaven. And before he left, he had such strong faith. And one of the things that he said that meant so much to me was that he saw his cancer as a gift from God, the gift of cancer. And that helped my thinking so much. I want to always look at things as special gifts from God, even when they're hard things. And I know for me, with my cancer, one of the biggest gifts along with that was all the prayers that were prayed by so many of you. And I can say that my cancer's in remission now, and I know that it's God honoring all of those prayers and His working His will in gifts that maybe we would never want, wouldn't ask for, wouldn't hand to somebody else, but God knows just what we need. You know, I started thinking about it as I look back on gifts in my life. And like with most packages, with most gifts that we have, there's usually a card inside. And so I realized there are cards inside these gifts. And a card usually says who it's from. And this card says, "Trust in me, I will be with you, with love from your Father." And I realized that that card was in all those gifts that I mentioned, whether it was the gift of Baird or the babies we lost, or the ones that we got to keep, or the gift of cancer. God is with us always, and He's such a good God. He is the best giver, and the greatest gift of all is our salvation. And we know that God gave His one and only Son because He loved us so much. God gave because of His love. But you know, in that gift too, He says, "Trust in me, I will be with you, with love from your Father."